All right, so I recently finished up Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE at very long last. This was a game I actually picked up around a year, a little more, a little less from when it came out, when I was able to find better deals on it. And I started playing it right away, but I was in college at the time, and normally when I would move around between semesters, just after moving and getting caught up in other things, by the time I would start gaming again, I would normally pick up other games and plan to maybe come back to what I was playing, you know, next semester or whatever. And sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. In this case, I didn't until 5 years later, more maybe. I think there was some milestones in this section from 2017, 2018. And it's not from anything personally against the game or anything. I really enjoyed the game, actually. The opportunity just didn't line up till now, I guess. Which is actually kind of surprising, too, because I was a little worried about this game because I don't know what the official term is, but I sort of label these kinds of games as menu RPGs, and I've never really gotten into one. They've just never really clicked with me. I feel like losing, control through movement in gameplay and just sort of going through a bunch of menus for, all your actions and that, and all the different options you have. It just never really appealed or resonated with me until this game. And I feel like there's a few reasons for that. I feel like I'm a fan of Fire Emblem. Probably the main reason because I think you could even argue, in general, with quote-unquote menu RPGs, once again, I feel like they had the movement of Fire Emblem, so I did really enjoy and get into that extra layer. And once again, I'm sure you can make an argument. How is a game like this different from, other games, except instead of going through a menu, you're pressing A, B, X, Y to access your moves or whatever. Like I said, probably what I've said, unpopular opinion without a lot of, I don't know, merit to the whole thing. But here, once again, knowing Fire Emblem, knowing the weapons triangle, and knowing what, Pegasus or just general flying units are weak against and armored units, it helps, these, even some of that intimidation of all the options you have. Plus, I feel like the really unique theming of this game was just something I really appreciated and enjoyed. Now, do I think they went about it the right way with how they announced the game? Absolutely not. They should have just said, Atlus is making a Fire Emblem spinoff. Maybe if you can, say it's set in modern day and sort of set those expectations accordingly. I don't know, I feel like, going this direction, it's almost like they didn't restrict themselves. They made the game they wanted to make, and there's just a lot of creativity and uniqueness with it. And I think it's just sort of a shame many things were mismanaged and a lot of people sort of wrote it off. The mass amounts of censorship this game saw too is definitely something that, I'm sure put a lot of people off and is, in general, not a good thing, in my opinion. The two big things I was aware of on that end of things was the Shibuya dungeon sort of had its story rewritten, which, I don't know, I think it helped knowing the original context and intent of that dungeon. I didn't really feel like it was necessarily as out of place, I guess, as you see some people talk about. And I'm not trying to, justify it or whatever either. I think it was a stupid decision and could have been handled a lot better, but it didn't really, make or break the game for me. Neither did. The other thing I was aware of was some of the outfits were toned down, which, once again, I kind of get, because they were probably trying to go for a T rating. And there's some stuff that probably just, they couldn't get away with. But still, like, I know I'm using a very good example, but I look at Smash Ultimate and how they handled Mithra, where her toned down design just fit so well. It just, blended together with the initial design, and still felt like it fit the character and what they were sort of going for, to where, people really liked it and it got added to the actual game. Here I felt like some of the outfits in that, it was just like, okay, gotta cover up this section, so have him wear a big set of pants or have him put on a t-shirt, and it just didn't really, at least in my opinion, gel, just super good overall, I guess. I'm not, a 3D model designer or that, so I don't know, what was really possible, what, may or may not have looked better. But I don't know, I just feel like with, a little more attention, you could have had something closer to a Mithra situation with that stuff. Actually, kind of funny. I'm surprised. So I was actually looking up some of the, the censorships before doing this. Actually, that outfit with Tsubasa is also censored, and I didn't even realize it, actually. It is an outfit you get late game, so it wasn't, in promotional material or stuff like that, but it was part of the final side quest. And I'm not going to lie, I did sort of, didn't give my full attention, I guess, to the music videos. So maybe I'm missing some sort of context. And now that I know it's censored, I can see it more of what they did. But that outfit's supposed to be a wedding dress. And I honestly, I made a mistake here. I forgot there was archers out when I put her in. But I thought they were going for some sort of angelic sky warrior, not, a bride outfit. So to have the intent or general idea behind the costume just completely going over my head because of the censorship. And once again, maybe I missed some sort of context in the music video, but that's really not a good thing in my opinion. I don't know, maybe I'm stupid, but yeah, I'm surprised because I just thought someone would have compiled a list of just, comparisons between, the Japanese original and what we got internationally. Ooh, I think we got lucky here. Got a higher HP recovery. Or did I use the skill? I didn't. Oh, yeah, I used the skill. Never mind. Because you can sometimes, almost like a critical, get a boosted version of the skill. I thought that's what happened for a second. And it really sucks that they used the international release for Encore, too. So, now everyone's censored. Once again, some questionable moves. I can definitely understand, people, not picking up the game and supporting, that sort of thing. And I still think it's a shame because there's a lot of good things with this game, but those aspects are definitely off-putting. But I'm more of a stick it to them by buying from the secondhand market and not at launch, as opposed to boycotting overall, I guess. Putting that aside, I've got kind of an interesting story. So I remember back in college, I was talking with a group of people, and one of the people in the group was a big Persona fan, maybe a big Atlus fan too. I remember they particularly were really good into Persona. We were talking about various games, and this game came up, and I remember seeing online some people comparing certain aspects of this game to Persona. And I was going to say, I saw this online. I've been playing the game, and I think, some of the stuff they're talking about sounds appealing, and maybe when I'm done sometime, I'll check out a Persona game, And this person, for whatever, they wouldn't even let me get that sentence or statement out. they were not having any of the comparison of this in Persona, which I found very strange. I mean, if I was gearing up for something negative, I guess I can get it a little more, but I don't know, me trying to lead to, oh, hey, I might want to check out this game I know you like. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I really like a game, I want everyone else to like it and buy it so we get more of that game. So it almost felt like oddly gatekeepery, and it was just really bizarre, especially considering this person was like normally really chill. Like this, because of how the character it was, is probably the memory of them that stands out the most to me. And it was just odd overall, but one of the things I liked about this game that I'm pretty sure Persona takes to the next level, that it's essentially the characters and the character development. You have side stories where you learn more about them and that sort of thing. And that was, playing the game, it was something, I would like to see this, expanded. And I know Persona, does a great job with, a social system and that. Correct me if I'm wrong, though, because I still haven't played Persona, although after finally finishing this, I'm definitely, I think it's up a little higher in my backlog. Not super soon, but probably within the next year at least. Aside from that, the dungeons were also really fun for the most part. Fuck the 106 dungeon. That was by far the worst, especially being the second dungeon you have in the game. Like, I can certainly see people quitting during that one, which, like I said, that's an early one too, so luckily I stuck through it and was rewarded, I felt like. The one thing that's, kind of interesting, and I don't really know, like, the game obviously revolves around Japan and idol culture, which, I'm not, an expert on. But it was kind of confusing to just have so many locations. You've got Daiba Studio, Daito TV, and Daitama Observatory. So all kind of similar starting words. And I don't know, maybe that's how it is over there. But as an international person, it's confusing. If that's how it is, though, I feel like then, that was the right call. But I can also see this being a call if it isn't like that of the developers. Maybe, it would be funny to sort of, mess with the international audience. And, something that's not, a super game-breaking deal, I guess. But yeah, I will say the Shibuya dungeon that I mentioned earlier and Daiba Studio are pretty gimmicky, but they're more fun. They work. The Daitama and final two dungeons, I feel like, serve their roles really well as, an introductory and a grand finale to the game. My favorite dungeon, though, was probably the one right in the middle, the Daito TV dungeon. I mean, it had a little bit of a gimmick, but it was more of a straightforward dungeon. Like I said, some of the other gimmicks were fun, but I feel like they all had their moments, and it was nice to just have, a straight forward dungeon, just, solid to start to finish. But once again, I appreciate the flow of going, back and forth with different ideas, and, just creativity. Overall difficulty, like I said, I'm not super. This was probably the first game of this, menu RPG I dubbed that I've played through. So I did play through on easy, and I was able to make it through. Some of the bosses, though, got pretty difficult. I was, on one end, really happy I bought the DLC, especially before the Wii U eShop closed. Thank you, Nintendo. So I was able to avoid some grinding. I don't know if, I would have, taken breaks or even potentially quit the game if, the grinding got ridiculous. But luckily you had a dungeon to do that, very efficiently, which I was happy about. And like I said, I think I got a little better at the end, but I probably wasn't the best at utilizing all the resources I had in that. Something I'm, interested to see if I, move on to like a Persona game, see if I'm any better at or I'm able to, get a hold of better. depending on how that game's easy mode is. I'd particularly probably go with 5, but, 3 reload, or if by chance, say, 4, or, another, remake comes out real quick. I'm leaning towards 5, though. But on another end, with the DLC stuff, I don't know, I think it was disappointing that the 3 DLC dungeons you get, and you get some outfits too. I believe they took away a swimsuit pack, which, as long as they replaced it with something, I mean, whatever. I just hope we, didn't get nothing in return, but outfits, not a super big deal. But all the dungeons had the same layout, and it was, pretty basic at that. I was kind of hoping one of them was a little more in-depth, maybe not like the closer to endgame dungeons and that, but something more similar to what we got in the actual game. And, I forget what Encore had. I think they had new music videos. Maybe they had a new dungeon that was more of what I was looking for. But like I said, I was already progressed, maybe somewhere between 33 to 50% done with the game, when I came back with it. So I thought I was better off just, picking up where I left off. I don't know if I would ever feel particularly motivated to go to Encore. Unless, it was, cheap and I knew an easy way to, get to the new content, or, if they actually, had an uncensored release, that would have, tempted me more to, support. But I'm sorry, I feel like I normally don't go off about that sort of thing, but I just remember it being, a really big talking point in particular for this game, and just a lot more standout-ish, I guess, from, what I'm used to, at least, kind of in the modern era. I'm used to, seeing, maybe, this support conversation Fire Emblem was changed, or, this line of dialogue was altered, or, slight revisions to designs. I feel like, just the stuff was, a whole, story element of a dungeon and several designs. And potentially more, too. I might be forgetting something, and maybe there's, small details that just aren't as well documented. But, enough about that. Overall, despite everything, I still had a really fun time playing the game. I think it was worth it. I just hope, people can, give it a fair shot, even if it's got its flaws. I do think this was a one and done. I don't think not even just the way, things end, but I don't know if, the performance of the game, and even, just having to get, 2 companies to collaborate on, an already out there idea like this again. Although, I wouldn't mind it. I don't know if there's, even another direction they can take it, maybe instead of focusing on the idol industry, if they, do something similar with, I don't know, athletes or something. I think that could be kind of interesting to see, how they take, because that's once again one of my favorite parts of this game, is seeing how they take that and apply, the different, dungeons, abilities, and, story themes and that sort of stuff. I mean, yeah, I guess it can get kind of cheesy at points, but I don't know. I don't really feel like, from what I've seen, it really gets the, respect and appreciation I feel like, it deserves. But, maybe that's just me. And yeah, who knows, maybe other people agree with me, or, at least had a fun time playing the game and enjoyed, the, like I said, and I feel like I talked about the negative here, but, there is a lot of positive here too.